And this, in case you didn't know, is R&B Talk.
Hello and welcome.
Welcome everyone to the latest episodic adventure of R&B Talk.
Okay, so before we continue our discussion on anonymity and Raiders and Facebook's
Insta chats and Snap Twits and
Antifas and purple-haired freaky people, I think we're headed in the right direction where there's more and more people waking up and saying, you know what?
Of course.
I think we're getting more to the point where it might start making a difference.
Well, I think you can kind of see it in, there's less and less. Back when stupid people will remain unnamed, would say stupid things, people would Chicken Little and start thinking that the sky was falling. Now they say it and everybody's kind of like, I'm tired. Being angry all the time has got to make you exhausted. Like, it's got to take the wind out of you.
I don't know.
And about everything.
I mean, I'm just so, I mean, I think I speak for a lot of people. We're just over it.
Yeah. I mean, just,
you know,
can we move on now?
I'm just over it. Like, you're oversensitive about everything. You know, if things aren't funny anymore because you're so offended about everything. It's just ridiculous. And it's like, no, it's time to move on. And I think it's really Gen X that's pushing this thing, because we're all just like, dude, get over it. Like, you know, this is ridiculous. And it's because I think we're getting to that point in our generation is getting that age where it's like,
shut up.
We're done.
Yeah, we don't want to listen to you anymore.
No.
And the thing about it is there's a even millennials are starting to get tired of it. You're starting to see more and more millennials that are going, really? I don't know. Like, that's kind of too much. You know, I literally am like, I'm of the opinion that we should just let them stay angry, and eventually they'll just collapse from exhaustion and not be able to be angry anymore, simply because they'll have burnt all of their energy. You know, the hour it takes to dress up in like a purple unicorn uniform and put sparkle eye on and put on like a Robin mask and wear like combat boots that are bedazzled. Like, I don't know how, like, that's got to be tiring, man. I just want to get up and put some sweatpants and a t-shirt on and get moving. That mess. Like, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, man.
I mean, how long did it take you to bedazzle those boots? Do you not have anything better with your time? Come on now. But anyway, I think you're right. I think we've reached the point of empathy exhaustion.
Well, you hope so anyway.
Well, I actually think you're right. I think it's just been,
but
like,
I don't
because here's the thing too. It's different if you had one cause that you were mad about and you focused your energy on that one cause. They're mad about everything. And I'm like, dude, how are you effective? Because you have 116 things you're angry about. I know. You know,
well,
a martyr for all of them.
And not just mad at everything, but like afraid of everything.
Yeah.
Like a mad and afraid. You are literally a walking time bomb of emotional nonsense.
Emotional damage.
Oh my goodness, man. And it's crazy. I mean, it's just like, dude. All right, anyway. So look, we talked a little bit last week. Well, I shouldn't say a little bit. We had a lot to say about the whole thesis around anonymity and using gaming, specifically Arc Raiders, since that's the one I've been playing here lately, and keyboard on Twitter and all that kind of stuff. And so we talked a little bit about how, you know, the games or your Twitter environment or whatever, and you're behind a gamer tag or a handle or something, have no consequences around what you're saying or doing. And it allows, it's not just, it doesn't show your real you. It just allows a different part of you have control and do what it wants rather than you reigning in there. So we talk logical perspective, being the constellation of what was it? I can't remember now. It was something, but from a Christian perspective, it really relates to the spirit and the flesh. We talked about how this other realm, I guess you'd say, it has its own moral and social context rather than the reality you live in, and that even though you're making a decision in this moral context that could be acceptable, you're still making a real decision in reality. So taking that a step farther this week, I just wanted to say that when you establish your ideological principles, where you ground things in for yourself, your point of view, your worldview, okay, ground those in like absolute truth. I'll just use this as a Christian perspective. Even though you're participating in this other social context and you know that some of these things are acceptable, that it still does not feel right to you. I think this is more of a not a it's not really a thing like to say that's right or wrong for the game to be doing, but it's a way for it's kind of a check valve for a spiritual health. That's kind of how I would say.
Yes.
Yeah. So like if I see a rat or something that's camping in exfil and they keep killing people, that's part of the game's mechanic and that's allowed or whatever. And even though they may not be grieving anybody or whatever, that still feels wrong. It's something I wouldn't do. It's the same thing as something on Twitter and they post a picture of some random, like I saw this the other day, a guy at the gym, big guy, like and I don't mean big as in muscular. I mean like he was rather overweight, right? Mm-hmm. But he was in the gym and they posted to like rat on him or whatever. Well, like that's the one place this dude should be in the first place. And that's wrong. Yet the person behind that namer tag didn't feel any qualms about.
They don't care
about posting that, right? When
they should. I feel about that, man. You don't. If somebody's making an effort, shut your hole.
But that's right. Yeah. You have this lack of consequence, this anonymity that is behind those kind of things because you don't think you're going to be held accountable for those things.
Yes.
Now, thankfully, and I don't really know a lot, but the only reason why I do follow Joey Swoll is because he calls people a lot, and it's awesome.
He gets a lot of grief, but he really just wants everybody to be able to go to the gym and get right. Like that's all he really wants.
But that's what he's doing. He's kind of being a vigilante in the sense of, well, yes, you're involved in participating track here, but at the same token, this is regardless of what your gamer tag or user tag or Twitter handle or whatever is, that's wrong. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's the way to say this here. It's like when Daniel was in Babylon, okay, and he was operating inside this foreign system that has its own rules and its own culture, its own context, but his identity and his moral compass was anchored in something that Babylon didn't believe in or touch. They couldn't touch it, right? And so he could navigate Babylon without becoming Babylon.
Yeah,
right. And that's kind of what we did. Christian believer, Christ follower perspective when we're participating in these things. We understand we're in this context. We understand we're in this moral ambiguity type of scenario, where the consequences are less, but that still doesn't mean that comes back and we become that. Okay, so there's that. the guy who sits there and rats and stuff, or is grieving people in Arc Raiders, and like for instance, the institution captures the kid's attention with fancy puppets or whatever the case. They're on the same principle. It's just on a different scale where you have an identity that is trying to be overwritten by a collectivism, right?
Yes.
You're removing the accountability and you're alleviating the individual in a purposeful manner in order to create a less godly culture, a less godly oriented individual to a collective, as this is what Marx was all about. So that's what that's doing.
Yes.
Yes. Now, I know you don't play Arc Raiders.
I do not.
Although you probably should. It's a pretty cool game.
Things I'm trying to learn.
I hear you. but I think, Brian, in the scope of where you and I both navigate sometimes is that social media spectrum, right?
And I think this applies directly in the sense that, I see so many people every day on my feed who will make a utterly unfounded and ridiculous statement. And it's under some obnoxious twit. And then if you go look at their page, it's just a cartoon picture of somebody and there's no history, there's no personal information. And I think it's equivocable in the sense that, unfortunately, I was raised with a level of accountability for everything that I did. And I question now, is it their true nature that's coming out at that point all the way? Or is this one of those things, I wouldn't say that to your face, but I'll type it to your Facebook page.
Or I'll comment on it.
Or I'll comment, make an awful comment. Which is it? Like, I think I know the answer, which is, it's a little bit of your true self popping up. I would like to hope that there's still some level of morally centered thinking that they would look at that later and go. And I think an example of that, oddly enough, is when the first 2 years of Biden's presidency, when he was trying to bring on all the liberal judges, and they had made some of the, it's just awful, but their immediate reaction was not to deny it, was to be like, yes, I've changed my mind and I am no longer of that thinking and I have apologized for that. So is it their true self, or is it just their, I can cut people without any consequence self, right? Like, I remember growing up, if we really were angry with someone, you had to do a little bit of work to get in front of them to let them know, right? Now you don't. Everything's so easy and accessible. So, but you were talking about the guy in the game, right? Blowing people up and stealing their crap. Dude. The one who told you it's who he was and baited you, that dude's real nature came out there. I feel like his true nature showed up there. I feel like he'd do the same thing to you in an elevator in a hotel if he didn't know who you were.
I don't know, man. See, this is the thing. I think this is where, and I'll interject this because I didn't put this in the timeline, but you have a real apocalyptic scenario where it's kill or be killed. It's really about survival, and you got things. I think there's a lot that happens than what we have right now in our pretty pink society, right? I mean, that's the whole thing about when we talked about this before, but but it applies more to this. But we talked about it as in regards to gender roles, how thing goes flying completely out the window when society breaks down and it's just left for survival of the fittest or whatever it is. It's completely tore down. It does not apply anymore. So and the same thing goes with stuff like that, right? Where I think you have maybe it's their true. Maybe they would. Maybe they are not capable of doing that either, though. That's the thing about video games, in this other, like, you know, living out a different persona in some sense of the word, whether that's Sims or your social media presence, who you are really, or whatever. It's this different persona, is that you can create this person who can do whatever and be this whatever. And you can kind of have that, what we talked about it last episode, disassociated anonymity, right?
Yes.
And so I think that in his case, it's that with just a single encounter. It could be just that he was just being a rat for sure, a turd, and it's completely legitimate in that game. And this is the thing, completely legitimate play style to sit there and lie to somebody and be like, yeah. Just nuke them and steal your crap, right?
Yes.
But from our
yeah.
perspective, we're going to look at that and go, that is a turd.
That's a junky thing to do.
That is a terrible, stupid thing to do. It should feel bad, and they should feel bad. Now, and this is what we talked about, you can participate in these social construct and play the game the way it's supposed to be. Should you feel bad about, you know, playing the game how it's supposed to be played? No. If you take it too far, though, as we said before, grieving and some other things, there's the ways to take it too far. But should you the world to act like your worldview? No. That's the thing. We have to understand that too.
Well, I also think that for me personally, like anything that I do, and maybe this is why I don't do a lot of the open world gaming kind of thing, I would feel legitimately bad if I did that to somebody. Like, I would be like, dude, I shouldn't have done that. I'd be like trying to find out who that was and give them their stuff back. Like, I don't, who I am reflects in what I do.
Yes.
And that's, I think the struggle for me is chop your foot off, but should I chop my foot off? Right? Like,
should I chop my?
I mean, well, you know, like maybe I could chop my foot off and draw a disability because it is legal for me to chop my foot off, but then it would be a morally repugnant thing to do, right? Like, for me, I feel like for me to be taken as truthful, that my character has to reflect in the things that I do. Like, and I feel like with the guy who was, what's the word, grieving you?
Well, that's not really, I don't think it's called, I don't know if that's really.
Or griefing you, maybe?
Yeah. So, okay, here's a couple things. The term griefing has a specific, and I wouldn't say that's griefing. Well, I don't know. It's hard to say, man,
but either way,
it kind of varies. It really.
The dude that's griefing you, I think it reflects in his character. I think he would probably be doing that to someone, girlfriend, mom, friend.
But okay, so that brings me to this though. Here's why this is revealing in a little bit, and I think this also reveals how playing goal is actually like more of an enjoyable experience than when you're a rat.
Yeah.
So for Arc Raiders, okay, low aggression player, they instituted this aggression based matchmaking. So let me explain that. That's really just based on if you are aggressive towards other players and you do damage to other players,
and you're stealing their stuff.
You're stealing their stuff, doing all that. You get put into lobbies with those more type of people, rather than if you're cooperative and you don't shoot other players, you don't do all that, and you just run everything. You get matchmake priority that play like that.
Okay, so how did this dude wind up in your?
Well, because it's not pure.
Okay.
You still have mixed, right?
Well, but so for an example would be if he wanted to get in and they couldn't match him up with a group that was similar, he might just get dropped into your group.
Yeah.
Simply because.
Here's why, because according to a few different sources I found from like PC Gamer and Gfinity and some other sources, low aggression players will spend less than 30 seconds in queue times in order to find a match. Okay. But high aggression players are averaging like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So that gives you an idea. The other thing is that 1 million concurrent players with a 91% retention rate, that's huge numbers, dude, for a game. Okay. So what that means is from just those little statistics here, you have a real measurement to say that there's a lot of people like that, PvP or that like rat attitude. They want to go in and cooperate and do things together as a community. Okay. So and this is why it becomes a more of an outcry in like Arc Raider scenario because of that, because this aggression. Embark Studios trying to solve a problem from an outcry that was there. Like people were not going to come. I mean, they were not going to keep players. Like the people were trying to come in and do the things that they want to. And they were just getting mauled by other players trying to do all the other, like, pointless. Why would I want to do any of that if I can't? Because I'm going to go into a match and lose all my crap and never get an accomplishment.
Seems to make sense.
So here, like, so that's what happened, right? And then you've had this outpour of the community to say like, hey, we need separate PvP, PvE kind of things. And Embark hasn't really said that they were going to do that or not. I think that they've just done their aggression-based matchmaking, and you get some weird feedback upon all that. So, but there is a huge outcry for all this stuff.
Okay.
Now, what does that mean for okay? So for one, I think the biggest thing I didn't actually put it in the outline, Brian, but is that you have a large number of people who prefer to have common goals and a thing you do, and you work with individuals being this survival of the fittest type of thing. Now, you could probably do a whole psychological analysis on that as well, because it's like how our civilization has allowed for our more community-driven attitudes and stuff like that. But I think that for the short term here in our, it illustrates that regardless of what we see being the mouthpieces and the keyboard warriors out there, most of us still want to work together, and most of us still want to do things to as a common goal. And we all kind of share a lot of common goals, right?
Agreed.
As a human race. Yeah. So I think this is an illustration for me on like that whole like woke liberal sect of Marxist nonsense versus common sense, freedom and all those kind of things, right? I think that's really where I would put this at.
I agree. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, what we've been talking about is at the heart of this is, where is your moral core lie? Or do you seem to be aggressive and weak, and instead of finding a way to strengthen yourself, use the shield? Or are you like most people who really don't want anonymity? What we want is cooperation. We want to find common ground. We want to make things happen that are going to move us all forward, right? I think that's why I get so frustrated with our current governmental system is we have a whole bunch of people in government that have no common ground to move forward together. It's my way or the highway kind of thing. And it's amongst the individual. And I think that's the frustrating part for me is, think about that. We have umpteen senators and congressmen. Every one of them wants something different, and they want it to go their way. Well, how are we ever going to get anything accomplished? And church, it's the same in the church. You have a bunch of individuals all wanting their own way, which tears churches apart from the inside out. You have it amongst, it's naturally bred amongst men to be competitive and dominant.
Sure it is.
Right. And then that happens. It's between women, subtle and much more emotionally based than it is anything else.
Yeah, and there's a lot of undertone.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, I'll call it, for lack of a better word, I'll call it catty undertones that may not catch in the beginning, but people begin to realize. And all we really want, I think the majority, I would dare 80% of the people on the earth really just want to get along and get going and live their day and live at peace and be all right.
Yeah, I mean, we want opportunity, and I think you want, and I think this is the thing that gets all messed up, because we want to feel like we're that we want to be compassionate and empathetic and all that kind of stuff, and then we end up going overboard with it suicidal empathy for one kind of thing. And then you lose your identity, you lose your sense of self into this collective nonsense of Marxist,
which is actually just another, because you become one of a million faces.
Exactly. Right.
Nothing unique. You just fade into the crowd. And
right.
You can burn Teslas and firebomb, I don't know what's next. Firebomb a daycare. I don't know what they're doing. They're so crazy. But you blend into the million faces. You gain anonymity that way, which I think is even more dangerous, because once you sink into that collective, even if you have a revelation that you don't need to be there, it's extraordinarily difficult to remove yourself. And a great example of that is our current celebrity loose. And they're like, wait a minute, we're not down with this. There's a few of them that have kind of went, no. And they're literally mired in controversy and hatred because they went, well, maybe I don't agree with you. Maybe I don't want to be part of the collective.
Well, and this goes into where this connects. When you start disagreeing with the institutional kind of majority that is there, and you're saying, I don't really want to get involved in that. Not even that you disagree, but you're just like, I don't want to even play in that sandbox. You get pushed out.
With really good examples of that right now. Example number one, I don't know if I could, but Gwen Stefani, who has really kind of found a spiritual journey and has joined the Hallow app and has pushed and promoted prayer and finding your spiritual center. She's been harangued by the left. Just the hateful comments that have been made about her. Ugh. And another good example, and this is, I think, an even better example, is Kevin James. I watched an interview the other day where they were like, well, where's your political? He's like, I don't want to talk about that. He's like, I'm an actor. I have a new movie. I want to talk about my new movie. I don't want to get a good time and enjoy myself. And now they're like, he's undercover MAGA. He's low key MAGA. He hates the left because he didn't want to talk about all the horrible things we want to talk about. Like, you gotta, I think that's great examples of, once you're in the collective, once you're sunk into the mire, oh, brother, getting out is not something that's going to be easy to do. And that's where I really feel sorry for them. I don't think they realize in the beginning. I think, there's a famous line from a movie, and it's a movie, I can't remember the name of it, but this guy's it's Gangs of New York, where Leonardo DiCaprio is talking about, his father and being killed, and he says something that really hit home, and it's warm under the wing of a dragon, right? Like, I'm sure when you first fall into that collective, you feel the warmth of being a part of something, but eventually really a part of something. I'm just lost in this ocean of nonsense that doesn't make any sense. And speaking to the game analogy, if you got 1 million players in the game, you're lost in the ocean of nonsense. Like, you don't have any accountability at all, but you also, and you have total anonymity. But you can run, like stuff to cover up your IP address, all that stuff.
It's already like that.
Yeah.
Because so for instance, if I'm on Steam, right? So I play on my PC. So my Steam account, right, has everything hidden under a bunch of stuff. You can't even get to my IP address anymore. But it's not, that's not a public thing that they do. So really, I'm just a gamer tag out there. That's it. Now here's what I've done lately, and I'll explain this too, right here where we're at it. Because I do like a PvP game playing against players. Yeah. I do, but I would feel terrible myself running into a PvE lobby in Arc Raiders and just nuking people. It was just, no, that's not at all what I want to do.
And it would also be different if you were in the actual gameplay. And
well, that's what I mean. Like,
but if you're in like a lobby and you're just kind of hanging, that's kind of
they're not. That's not what I mean. Like it's not like you're just hanging. Like, you're going in and doing stuff, and you're fighting the Ark, which is the AI enemy kind of thing, and you're doing those kind of quests, and not really. now, because of the aggression-based matchmaking, you can pretty much, especially, I'll say this, as a solo player, you can pretty much go in and not expect to run into anybody and have a problem. You can say hi, and that's usually what everybody's doing. We're just saying that we walk into a match and you say hi, what's up? We're trying to do this, and they're talking, giving blueprints and all this stuff back and forth, trading stuff. Well, that's what happens when you're in when this aggression-based matchmaking stuff kicked in, and you're playing as a solo. Now all of a sudden everybody's working together that you're walking into. If you're not that one that's going out and killing players and stuff, that's what happens. You walk and you're like able to swap this and swap that. Hey, do you know where this is or that? It's like it's a whole different freaking thing. I don't want to come into that environment with my PvP gear and just start wrecking people.
Yeah.
Because that makes me feel right?
Yeah.
So I created another account. I did. I created my own account that's separate from so I can use it specifically as a PvP thing. So that aggression-based matchmaking will always go, that dude is going to kill people. And that's what it'll do. I'll keep my other one stuff. That way I'm always in that kind of lobby. I won't feel that bad. And I'll keep my PvP account. So that's what I've done. Just so, cause I'm going to feel bad, dude, if I go in there and, oh, look, that guy's trying to extract, hose him down.
Yeah.
And all he's got is he's been looting for the whole match and not been killing anybody. I'd feel terrible.
Well, something that's very interesting to me is the science of de-individualization. Everything we've described so far, Suler's factors in gaming behavior and the matchmaking problems, social sciences, have documented this under a broader concept. And the thing that stands out to me is the Stanford prison experiment.
Okay. Yep.
And you're looking at, so Philip Zimbardo at Stanford took 24 ordinary college students, screened for psychological stability, randomly assigned them to be guards or prisoners in a simulated prison. Within days, guards became sadistic, arbitrary punishment, sleep deprivation. Prisoners became submissive, some experiencing emotional breakdowns. The experiment was supposed to run 2 weeks. It shut down after 6 days because the behavior was so extreme. What made the difference? Here's the thing I love. What made the difference? The guards wore uniforms and sunglasses, and prisoners were given numbers instead of names, identity erasure. The structure created the conditions for the behavior. The participants were normal people. So what really strikes me about that is the guards in the uniforms and the sunglasses. Anonymity. We all look alike. You don't know if guard B or guard C is whacking you with his nightstick or not, right? Like that to me, in Zimbardo's term, de-individualization, the loss of an individual identity within a group of a system that leads to behavior and individuals would never engage in alone.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is what I'm convinced. And into this is part of their
Antifa's a cult.
Well,
it's a cult.
It's a demonic death cult for sure.
Yeah, it's a cult.
That is based on Marxist evil ideology that has no business being a legitimized thing at all, and they deserve to be beat down whenever they show up.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Well, no. Here's the thing: the masks for Antifa, they openly admitted that they wear the masks so they won't get caught, so nobody can identify them.
Correct.
Which, to me, I'll say it, that makes you a coward. That doesn't make you special or powerful or
what
coward.
What was the phrase? It was like we're going to do we got to do no matter if it's legal or illegal, and that's why we wear the mask.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's absurd.
You're a coward.
Yeah.
You're a coward, dude. That's all I can say. And if you're in Antifa and you're listening, you're a coward. You're a coward. If you got to wear a mask. And here's what really makes me mad. All right. So and this feeds right into it is when someone wants to argue an irrational point with you and they're wearing a mask intentionally and aggressing you, maybe not physically, maybe verbally, and they know the camera's there. But I guarantee you, if I took your mask off, you'd be a whole different person.
Well,
it's easy to talk garbage when nobody can say, oh, that's Bob or that's Rita. But when My challenge to all of you, if you really feel so powerful, if you really feel like your stance is so important, take your mask off. Show your face. Stand up for what you believe. Because as long as you wear that mask, you're nothing but a coward.
Yeah. Well, and some of that also falls into the Milgram experiment example. So if you're not familiar with that, it was in 1961 where the guy named Stanley Milgram, okay, and he tested whether or not ordinary Americans would administer electric shock to another person's hip. So it's like an authoritarian experiment, right? 65% of participants, this is administered what they believed were lethal shocks. 450 volts, right? When an authority figure was present, a learner was in another room, anonymous to the participants. So in other words, here they are. The person in the other room doesn't know who they are, and someone tells them that to do this. 65% people administered 450 volts.
Delivered a lethal shock.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Now, when participants were made more anonymous, they were separated further. It increased. Obedience increased, right? So now, but when they were forced to be more personally identified with their actions, so they were holding the learner's hand on the shock pad, dropped dramatically, 30%. Yeah. So here's you got anonymity plus authority equals atrocity.
Yep.
That's kind of what I came up with. All right. So this this should tell you here. So according to some gaming survey, gaming analogy, 2/3 of gamers report behaving differently when anonymous.
Yep.
Right. So it kind of this is all where it can. When you're anonymous and you have your consequences are lessened, guess what happens? You behave differently. Getting into this, right, where we have Black Bloc. It's not a group, it's a tactic.
Yes.
Okay. It originated in the 1980s West Germany during the autonomous movement. It was popularized in America during the 1999 WTO protests in Seattle. So everyone wears identical black clothing, mask, and face coverings. You erase individual identity and become an anonymous mass. Right? Hence modern Antifa.
Yes.
So when we talked about Suler's 6 factors, so all of this maps to the dissociative anonymity, the invisibility, asynchronicity, the solipsistic introjection, the disassociative imagination, and the minimization of authority. Every single one of those are played out, and that's what they do. Okay. Here's the difference. Okay. And you can see, I guess, I hate to use MLK Jr. as an example. There's a lot of controversy behind Martin Luther King Jr. and what he believed and everything else. There's been a lot of that talk. And I don't want to throw the man under the bus necessarily or say whatever, but I will say this. The difference is, he put his name, it was him. Do anything.
Yeah.
He was out there, right? He marched with his face visible. Gandhi did the same thing. Everybody knew who Mother Teresa did. Yeah. They all did not, and they fought some really, really powerful entities and institutions, So, and I think we got to go back to why this is important and why that black bloc tactic is not biblical at all. Because you got to go all the way back to Genesis. I mean, even when Adam and Eve rebelled, God called them by name.
That's right.
Right? It was like the identity was still in what God sees, your identity is still unique.
Yeah.
It does not get lost. And it's vastly important.
Let's be clear. The Holy Spirit being in you is a one-dimensional thing. So when the Holy Spirit is in you, it will call you by name consistently for accountability. I think that's God's, and I guess you would call it his lever for accountability for us as individuals. I've never done anything wrong. Man, I feel bad for other people. He calls you into accountability. God calls Adam by name in the garden. Where are you? Genesis 3:9. Not because God didn't know, but because he wanted Adam to own it. He called Moses by name at the burning bush. Exodus 3:4. Personal calling, Jesus calls his disciples individually. John 1:42 through 43. You are Simon. You shall be called Peter. I think this is where, we have to be really careful to think that, and as Christians, we have anonymity. One of God's chosen. No, he left the 99 for you. He bestowed upon you the Holy Spirit, which is the most powerful entity in the world, moves freely amongst man, cannot be inhibited in any way. He a calling on your life, right? He doesn't have a blanket calling for everybody. We each are individuals created in his image, and he has a calling for all of our lives.
Yeah, right.
So this, people all the time are like, oh, well, you're just a Christian. No, I'm a child of God, and he put a mission individually for me. So I have to face accountability every day if I fail that mission. The only difference being, if you're in an Antifa and you fail a mission, they might kill you. But God will forgive me if I go to him and say, hey, Lord, I screwed this up. I'm so sorry. Give me another chance. That second opportunity.
Yeah. And I think at this point, though, we have to ask the question, is the erasing identity, erasing accountability, is that really being applied on a civilizational scale?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Well, no, they're trying to.
I don't think they're good at it. That's the reason I say
right? But okay, this is where this
okay, let me refine what I just said. That way it'll be a little better.
Okay.
For certain people.
Okay, but I think okay, the point is not that we allow that.
Yeah.
I'm saying is this being attempted at a civilizational scale? And I would say, yeah, that's where we have the gamer tags. That's where we have the handles. That's where we have, the numbers and stuff. That's where it's so, all these things are trying to erase this from an individual. It is trying to do that. And it's on its way to where, your name is Bob, but everybody's going to call you by a number.
Yeah. Oh, I think I misunderstood the question.
Yes.
Okay. So, yes, they are trying to erase individual accountability on a mass level.
Yes.
Now, I do stand by the second thing I said. Not for certain people. Donald Trump would be a great example. Well, they want to hold him individually accountable for everything he does. But Somali fraudsters, well, no, they're just no, you stole $9 billion. And okay. And then you had the audacity, a lady in Minnesota, a Somali, blah, blah, went on television and said that they wanted reparations because of the damage no, you just want to steal more money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Money is what you want. You don't want, and this goes back to something too, that an anonymity can create dangerous standards. And what I mean by that is, and I'm probably going to catch all kinds of flack for this, but I'm going to say it. So there is a very percentage, not a large percentage, but a loud percentage of African-American people who want reparations for something that most white people weren't involved in. Dangerous standard, right? Because if they get that, I can say, well, Reggie, your ancestor bludgeoned my ancestor, so I want you to pay me. It opens, and now we see it, the rippling effect of demanding the dangerous standard of being in that situation. Now we have Somali people calling for reparations. Who's next, right? Like this is an example of how a standard dangerous, ridiculous, and stupid standard becomes almost commonplace because there's no accountability, right? The anonymity of the demand creates the delusion of accountability, but there is none really. So just had to throw that out there. I thought.
Well, I mean, I think so
Rabbit trail. Sorry.
That's okay. We got to think about what stabilizes a person, I would say, holds them to a standard, and kind of keeps whole, right? So the relationship you have with God, right? Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that. Here's part of the systematic deconstruction, right? So you've had prayer removed from schools. That was back in the 60s. You had actions labeled as, bigotry, and especially in corporate DEI frameworks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like the primary source of your transcendent accountability is just that was the first thing to go, right? Mm-hmm. Biological sex. What happened next? So instead of having this like logical and scientific view of, oh, look, there's male and female, what happened?
Gender fluidity happened.
Yes, which is total philosophical nonsense that any sane person knows. Female, and you have varying degrees of male and female, but there's still male and female, and good grief, you don't want to screw that up, because if the more chemicals you stuff in your body, the worse your health will be, period, dot.
Which I think there is a direct correlation between the fact that there are young men and women who are attempting to transition gender, who are pumping all this stuff into their body, and there's violence coming out of it.
Oh, no.
I think it's directly correlated.
No way.
And that's part of it, right?
Come on now. And family structure, the nuclear family, just, single parenthood is like the norm. The mom don't need the dad, there's men aren't nearly necessary, all this kind of stuff. And
here's the thing. I don't applaud single motherhood. I don't think it's healthy, but I don't defame single mothers, right?
Of course not.
But I'm not going to stand there and cheer for single motherhood. Oh, well, you should just raise your kid on your own. No, because it's been proven to be detrimental to the child. So I think you're right then. That being said,
because about our national identity, goes right into the latest stuff with ICE and all that other stuff. But like, you're trying to erase that and say, well, the lines don't exist on the map if you're looking at it well, no, they don't. But there's still a real border that still needs to be protected, and but that's oppressive. That kind of. So it erases your national identity as well. Objective truth. This is one that kills me too, because like it's my truth. Really? Your truth, huh?
That makes me want to vomit every time I hear it. There is no your truth. There is just the truth. You don't, but again, a couple of weeks ago, why do people create gray areas? Because they don't want to be responsible for their behavior. I mean, think about it. Let's just say tomorrow they said, you know what? You can do anything you want. And for 72 hours, no consequences. There would be people that we think are good people would lose their minds.
But these are all identity anchor things, right? These are all things that you can anchor who you are. Now, bottom line is, and I'll speak this to the truth right here, is your identity. You are in him. It's just period. Your individualism is so important. You're so unique, and you have a deliberate purpose that is so unique, and you are so special. That is your identity. It has nothing. Yes, you are an American. The States, or maybe you're British or whatever. I don't care. That's part of it. And that's trying to be eroded. Your ethnicity is part of who you are. That is who you're grounded in. It doesn't matter what color your skin is. However, that does have a part to play in who you are. Okay. Being your mom or whoever that is in your family structure. That's all part of who you are. And all of these things are being attacked and rooted out because Marxism demands it. You got to this is the thing. You have to understand that all this nonsense and all the ideological institutions of our tech, of our science, of our corporations is all rooted in this collectivism nonsense that must get rid of the individual in order for it to succeed.
Yes.
It's awful. And it totally does who you are. And it allows you to do heinous things in reality like you do in virtual.
Well, using our relationship as an example, Reggie, we are not the same person, but for who you are, right?
Okay, yeah.
There are things that you do that I don't do. There's things that I do that you don't do. I don't judge you based on those things.
Right.
I judge you based on your character.
Right.
And I know your character. And honestly, I celebrate our differences. There's times when I'll be like, man, I can't believe he does that. That's right. I'm glad that there's somebody out there that can do that thing. Right. Dude, you're a genius on the computer. I am not even, like, if there was a metric that separated us, they would run out of the metric, dude. Like, I'm telling you. But I appreciate those differences and I celebrate those differences. It's not that I don't want to be like anyone else. I want my identity to be valued based on my character.
Sure. Right.
I don't want a world full of people who are exactly the same. I definitely want a world full of people who have a moral center. Everybody in the world started every action that they take with a morally centered view, but I celebrate differences. But I think, you know, if you look at like the theological, you know, Genesis, God establishes identity through specific order, right? Image, male and female, biological sex given immediately after the image of God, relationship and family. A man shall leave his father and mother and hold to his wife, dominion and purpose, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Named by God. Adam names the animals. Identity is exercised through the authority and language. You know, I think that God celebrates our individuality, even though he identifies us and he has a task for us. I think he revels in our individual abilities and uniqueness.
But that's extremely an extreme exemplified example of that is when he says, I can count every single.
I knew you before you were in the womb.
He knows every hair on your head.
Yeah.
He knitted you together in the womb.
He knew me before I was in the womb.
He
knew what I was going to be.
I mean, like,
right?
He has established a DNA code for you
that
is unique. There will never be another you.
Exactly. No.
That's crazy.
No.
You know,
it's nuts.
I mean, this is so unique. Individualism is at the core of this reality.
Yeah.
And the purpose you feel in it.
Yeah.
But that's also saying that all these this is where I think it gets under the gruff of like the institutions, everything else, when you have all bunch of individuals who are freed in their uniqueness, come together and act jointly for a single purpose, will dismantle everything.
Yes.
And that's what I think that's still there. And I think the numbers in the games that I was talking to you about, those are good examples of like, that still is there.
Yeah.
I think 9/11 was a long time.
Yeah.
We're talking,
it was
25 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is, holy cow, 25 years, bro.
25 years, man.
But that was a time period when you saw a dramatic shift and you felt it. It wasn't even
came together to nationally cry out,
yes,
this was wrong.
And this is the thing though. It was not a just subtle thing. It was a huge shift. Like the whole atmosphere was different. Like everybody who lived in should says otherwise. That is a known fact. That was a huge atmospherical shift. That is desired. I think that is what we desire. And I think that's ultimately God's purpose. Like part of it is for us to have this like perfect community. This perfect community with himself. Because keep in mind, 3 individuals are the same person, and he did this on purpose, and that's been the way it is forever. You know, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, all 3 in perfect community with each other, is the example for our community that we should have with each other.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So look, here's the thing. In anonymity, identity stripped populations are controllable populations. That's really where this goes to how and why we have this institutional capture. Going back to episode 120, right, where we talked about it. So the General Education Board, they didn't want thinkers back in 1913. They wanted to make compliant workers.
Yeah.
Whose identity came from the system, not from God or family.
Yeah, they wanted socialism.
The Frankfurt School families and churches, they want an atomized individual dependent on the state for meaning. The DEI and ESG frameworks, they don't want independent moral actions either. They want employees who self-censor because by the group membership, not personal conviction. This is all stuff that's on purpose. And look, in episode 118, we showed how these were captured. All right. 19, how they enforced it through the corporations.
Yes.
120 showed how the philosophical blueprint of all this stuff happened. In 121, we had the emotional mechanisms of the suicidal empathy. And now we're coming back all the way to the actual root of the mechanisms used is all about identity. So in the gaming stuff, you remove the name, behavior degrades. In protests, you remove the face. Institutions, remove the identity. Compliance follows. And it's the same principle. It's just on a different scale for those type of things.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you know, it's hard to, especially when you're young, you haven't really figured out a lot about your identity. And I think that is the new mechanism. I think, you know, I've kind of been watching this whole trend and I don't know if you'll follow. Capture the youth and the aged will follow. And here's why I say that. If you watch a lot of these protests, you'll have lots and lots and lots of young people who are obviously identity starved, right?
Or they're getting paid $30 so they could get them a burger or something.
Get them $30 and like
here's a bus
Dave
ticket.
Buster's gift
Go
card.
go show up the protests.
But
wear this mask.
And then what you're now seeing is an older generation who didn't have relevancy. They're in their later years. They're being ideologically captured by these people, especially older women. And I don't know why that is.
Oh yeah, that's so crazy. That you're right. Dude.
You know, I think there's a game plan going on right now where they're it's the old surround them.
On that note, though, did you see that the Tribune article about the protests or whatever that was happening? I forgot where, but it was like it was supposed to be. It said it was a school walkout protest or something, and it just showed the picture of like old ladies that were sitting there.
Yes, I do remember.
It was like how you just said it was a high school led protest, and you showed a bunch of old women hanging out there. And they said there was like 100 people. And then there was vast reports that said there was like 14, 15 kind of thing. So yeah, our media is that, folks.
And here's another one too for you. I've been following this. Let's talk about New York for a second.
Oh God. Do we have to? Are we talking about Mom Donnie?
Yes.
Mom
But I'm
Donnie.
going to give you an example.
Should we call him the Prophet Mom Donnie?
No. be honest with you, I'd call him the pain in the ass. I'm sorry. It's just what he is, man. He for some reason, he just gets right under my skin.
Oh yeah, he does too. But I
so let's talk about what he did. Okay. So he ran on making everything cheaper.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Then they had a snowstorm. He shut to clear snow and was bussing citizens around with snow shovels to shovel snow. Nothing like a nice socialist agenda. Then he proposes a budget that is the largest budget, I think, in New York history. You can check me on that. All those teachers that voted him in, he raided their retirement fund to meet his budget. And then now they've just reported that there is a major winter storm about to hit New York City, and he has banned anyone from going. First of all, who are you to tell people they can't get in their car and leave? You moron. I'll call you. Zoran, let's come on the show. I will debate you, and when I'm done, you will look like a blubbering idiot. I'm sorry. Your policies are garbage. Your entire stance is garbage. And here's the thing. Here's what I want to say. Right, New York? Got that? Good call? Feel good about that? New Yorkers, you good? You like him? Doing you good? Stealing all your money? In the snow? You know what he sounds like? Sounds like pure evil. But good luck with that. And no offense, but you got what you voted for. So I hope you have a great next couple of years trying to figure out what he's going to destroy, burn down, or steal next. Anyway.
Okay, so look. Donnie is a reflection of the dramatically successful attempts by this, I don't know, you call it the cabal, the New Order, whatever, to take over and indoctrinate people with Marxist ideology, even though we know historically that it's never, ever been successful.
And on its face is not Marxism or socialism. This is pure communism.
It's pretty much, yeah. So, but here's the thing. Identity is so critical, and these moves are desperately trying to eradicate your identity and for a purpose. They don't want you. They want you to feel part of a group. They want you to recognize with that group, not with yourself. And the thing is, this is where the Bible is like, and why God is such an awesome God. Because he sees, he looks out for you. He knows you, not just as a human being, but as you, as your created individual. And I mean, you can look at Genesis 16:13, Psalm 139, 1-4, Genesis 3:9. Those are perfect examples of the God who sees, right? Mm-hmm. Identity in Christ. 2 Corinthians 5:17, Galatians 3:22-9. But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, named, known, given purpose. The exact opposite of anonymous, identity stripped, purpose free. I mean, come on, people. So root your idea in the gospel. Root your idea in who God made you to be as an image bearer of God. Reject the disastrous and just apocalyptically bad idea of collective. Look to what happens when you have a group of individuals who are freely and uniquely purposed that do come together and have and work towards something. That is so powerful. You're not erasing the individual. You're just working with other individuals to the common good. That is what, that's why we've been so successful in a lot of things.
Yeah. That's why we're still, regardless of the nonsense going on, mayor of Seattle, we are still the greatest country in the world, period.
Yeah. So, I mean, here's the thing about gaming and all that kind of stuff. Look, I love gaming. I do. It's a way for I've played video games since they first came out, and I just like video games. And I'm fortunate when I'm in my late 40s here now that I can afford the PC to do whatever I want, do all that kind of stuff. And but my family, my jobs and stuff. But boy, dude, I'm telling you what, sometimes my head is about to explode, and I just need to go loot some stuff. I love Arc Raiders. I do. And I think it's a great game. I think it's like, I used it today because it's such a great parallel to like some of the crap that is going on and what we've seen and kind of what can happen and all that kind of stuff. So
my advice would be, if I was giving you a foundational principle to root yourself in sacrifice. Because sacrificing will level the playing field of ability to be morally ambiguous. Sacrifice for people and for others. And I'm not talking about socialist or communist sacrifice. I'm talking about, hey, I'm going to put my ideology aside and sacrifice my need to be correct and exercise my God-given right to be an open-minded human being. You'll be surprised how much better, easier, and calm your life will be. Like if you root what you are in sacrifice. Myself as a father, I sacrifice for my wife. I sacrifice to keep them safe and for them to have things. Root yourself in sacrifice. That is what the example of God sending Christ was I'm going to root my sacrifice for my people by allowing my son to die to save you. The ultimate sacrifice. Mm-hmm. But if you just day to day say, I'm going to sacrifice my ego, my want and my need to be constantly correct, and I'm going to open my mind, open my heart, and listen. Listen is the key word. Screaming, stop yelling, stop chanting, stop writing dumb protest signs that don't make any sense. I think we should do a reaction video to dumb protest signs because some of them are just stupid. I don't know who told you that was a good idea to put on paper and carry around and wave in the air, but it makes you look like a moron.
Well, they probably are morons.
Yeah, but instead, stop. Say, hey, you know what? Instead of stomping around the street in freezing cold temperatures and getting myself shot because I don't follow the law, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to open my ears. I'm going to sacrifice my ego and listen. You will be amazed.
Real I'd say is you don't want to sacrifice yourself to being father, and I mean, don't get lost in these roles you play. The whole thing here is to remain unique, remain in an individual. That includes being a man and who you are, right? As a father, and that's still you.
Yeah.
And I think people tend to get lost in that too. Like they get lost in being the husband, lost in being the father, and they forget who they actually are. That's a part of who you are, not the only thing.
Yeah.
So look, we talked a lot about, and I just want to close with this, right? We went through start off the whole thing about my leaders and how people just do all kinds of crazy stuff.
Insanity.
when they're behind the anonymity and there's no consequences. How that led to Embark Studios creating aggression-based matchmaking because they really needed to, because it wasn't going to, because of the way that the aggression was coming into the community, and the community had an outcry for that. And I told you all the story about just, how exploitative that's been and how that's been watched. And then we saw this in our real scenarios of, these freaking lunatics in masks and mobs during the peaceful summer, summer of peace or whatever, where they looted and burned down, I don't know how many millions of dollars worth of businesses that were minority owned, by the way. And also a really stupid thing, suicidal empathy. Mm-hmm. How deliberately erasure of those kind of things, because you're putting we're not who we are. We're for the the movement or whatever it is. And then we looked at like the whole systematic dismantling of your identity. and how there is actions towards that, and what that is for. And there is a way, and the biblical diagnosis is consistent with your individual freedom, your individual reality, your individual purpose. That is rooted in the image of God. I mean, that's what this goes about doing. I mean, Jeremiah 17:9, the mask doesn't create the monster, it reveals what's already there.
Amen.
That's the truth. It's not about saying who you are. It just allows a part of you control what that wasn't already.
Well said.
This is R&B Talks.
Brian.
I'm Reggie.
Goodbye.
See you.